Even just on the application, they ask about kind of what you do for service, how are you civically engaged, and for a student that is like the primary caretaker maybe for their younger siblings, they think, gosh, I'm not doing anything. Like I don't have my hours at the, children's hospital or whatever. And then we point them back to what they're doing with their younger siblings, how they've been instrumental in taking care of them. So like really figuring out how to take that information in their life and their challenges and their story and realize how resilient they are, how much they've overcome, and how much a college was going to want that kind of person on their campus. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you want someone who's been able to overcome these kind of challenges?
I think the biggest mistake that a lot of students make is they think that if you have a hugely diverse group of volunteer hours and work experience, that is going to be reflected on positively. I think instead, if you're able to pick a couple of things that you really do enjoy and focus on those, that's what will be the most helpful. If you're able to isolate what it is you enjoy and pursue that to the extent that you can throughout high school, that'll be the most helpful.
I would put at the top of the list what has been the biggest priority for them, what they've spent their most time doing. I also know that college is something really important to them, is having students that want to give back to the college, want to give back to the community. So I wouldn't do all like sports first than that. I would really consider if has significant involvement in some sort of service or something that you're really proud of, I would definitely put that towards the top.
Well, I think the biggest mistake students make, and I hear this often, is, what do you think the college wants to hear? And I think going at it that way makes students nervous, because the best essays are ones that only you can write, and they tell a story just about you. So I think students shouldn't think about what the college wants to hear. When you look at your whole application, because you have grades, scores, recommendations, activities, it should be a story that is quite different, that really says more about who you are as a person.
The most important things the admissions committee at a university you're applying to will look at in your personal statement would be to see how something has either affected you or will affect you in the future, and how your goals for your education are going to play into that, and how it may shape it or change it. They want to see that you've gone through some struggles because they know that you're capable of overcoming them, and you are capable of overcoming them. But they look at that and they also try to get a feel for what type of person you are and what contribution you will make as a student once you arrive on campus.
When you think about an applicant presenting themselves to the college, they've got scores, they've got grades, they've got recommendations in some cases. They've got a list of their activities, but who is this person that wants to come to our campus, and what would they bring?
Like, I think about it as I'm sitting down with a person, and it's like they're interviewing me. Like, they want to know who I am, like what makes me different from all the rest of the applicants. Like, what's the story behind me? Whether it's something that changed me or something that has motivated me to go to college.
And so, again, there's no one way of doing it. You want to be as clear and concise as possible. And of course, you want to be creative in telling your story, what distinguishes you from the rest of the applicant pool.
You need to take the reader out of the office for 5 minutes. They read a lot of the same essays, and I think that mistake is that students write what they think the college wants to hear, and there's certain topics that are overdone. And so I think it's important, if you're trying to come up with a story, to really think about what matters to you.
I guess the ideal time would probably be, start thinking about it towards sometime your junior year, the end of your junior year. That summer, it's a summer where you can kind of just it's kind of hectic, like with your SATs and all that, but it's a summer where you can just relax and kind of just like when you have a minute, 5 minutes where you're on your way to, to play, baseball, on your way to work or go swimming. Just kind of think about, what would you talk about on your personal statement? And when you get home, maybe just like on a sticky note, write some of those ideas and maybe just come back to them a little bit later.
And I suggest students have someone who knows them well read the essay and see if it reflects them well, and also someone who doesn't know them very well read the essay and ask them their opinion. Do you really sort of understand me better?
My best strategy was to like write my ideas down, have a rough draft, and just give them to my teachers, email them to my teachers, and have them correct it. Like one of my favorite ones was to talk to my English teachers because they're the best ones that were like with like all the grammar and stuff like that. And like you can don't worry too much about the grammar like till like the end. Just focus on the content, on like your ideas, like what you want to get out of it.
I think that the best time to write college essays is in the summer. Fall, if you're applying to many colleges, if you're applying to 6 or 8 colleges, it's going to be like adding another class to your senior schedule. And so an important tip would be to try and get those finished in the summer. And I have students, I always suggest that they copy all of their essay questions onto one document and look at the big picture before you launch in, because you'll see a lot of repetition. And if you know what you're going to need to write about, some students need more time to really think about how they're going to respond to the question.
But in the end, it's your story. You get to share it with the whole world or the admissions counselors. And so the process just happens gradually, but eventually you'll get to that point and you'll feel great after you do it.
Admissions offices are looking for a well-rounded view of each applicant. Adding that personal touch to your application will supplement your grades and test scores, making you as competitive of an applicant as possible. In the interview, you can highlight what is unique about you and communicate face-to-face with an admissions officer. Also, there is a personal statement demonstrating interest and generally knowing what else schools are evaluating along with your numbers.
Schools want to have kids from other areas. And for instance, the South doesn't get many kids from Seattle. And so they're always excited to have applicants from our area.
And I mean, they also often have short answer questions and they can get really creative with those. And I think that people often just, they see they have like 300 or 500 words and they just fill it out and move on. But I think it's important to really consider what you're saying in them and try to think about how that makes you look as an applicant.
Building that personal contact is helpful because they can interview them when they come to town, either for the college fair or they're coming to visit high schools. And they see you as a more likely candidate if you're going to make the effort to go meet with them and interview. And the interview's fun. I think a lot of people worry that it's going to be a scary thing, but it's a chance for you to learn more about the school and they're learning more about you.
As far as colleges definitely like to see that someone has overcome challenge maybe as one of a group that's underrepresented in their high school. They want to see students who are doing things where the industry or colleges are trying to recruit more, like women in certain fields, people of color in certain fields, that kind of thing. So I think that's going to be for that student's benefit when they're applying to schools.
College admissions counselors want to see that you're human. They want to see that you've gone through struggles, but you've overcome them. And that's kind of a look into the future of what it'll be like once you're on campus. You'll struggle, but you'll make it through, and you'll eventually graduate. And so that's a thing that admissions counselors look at when you share your background and what's happened in your life. And so that's a great way for them to kind of see that you are human, that you make mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes and you change them to better yourself for the future.